Saturday's acoustic version. This acoustic treatment features a really interesting departure from the studio track in that the picking pattern kind of is reminiscent of Neon, where we're using our thumb and first finger to alternate pick all the notes, arpeggiate all the notes in the chords he's forming. Although Saturday's adds another little spin where we have more of a strummy up and down. So sometimes we're doing single notes, sometimes we're brushing multiple strings up and down. Let's take a look at the chords used in the intro and verse. We have a D up high on the neck, 10th fret of the low E string with our thumb. 2 frets down we have a C with a low A, the open A on the 5th string, and our pinky is doing a E10 here on the high E to hit a D. That kind of ties back to the other chord. Then down here on the in the 3rd position, we have a G broom handle grip chord with our thumb on the 3rd fret of the low E. And then we have this beautiful E chord. It's like an E7 sus B D. I don't know what it's called. I'm not even going to name it, but it's certainly pretty. And he arpeggiates these in different ways. And that's what gives this song its unique style. Now is a good time to mention John Mayer's right-hand anchoring technique. You'll see him in the video. You'll see his fingers bouncing off the face of the guitar on the right hand. He seems to adopt an anchoring style where his unused picking fingers touch the face of the guitar and they're bouncing up and down. And that's something I don't do. I have a floating technique. Electric players will often anchor their pinky to the face of the guitar before they do really fast runs and things like that. So it's kind of a play on what he's doing. I also have these fake nails which sound really bad smacked on the front of the guitar, so I'm not going to be doing that. Let's take a look at measure 1 in detail so later on we can speed through the other passages. So measure 1 slow is... Right off the top, we start off with a double pluck, and then we start our up-down kind of sequence. The next one will be an up on the 11th fret of the 3rd string. Our thumb then strums the top 3 strings. That's the 10th fret of the low E, the muted 5th string, and then the fretted 4th string at the 12th fret. So the next upstroke is starting on the 2nd string, and we sound the 2nd and 3rd fretted notes. Back up top again. 11th fret of the 3rd string, and then a neat thing happens. We actually open up the thumb so we can get at that open A, and we do that with the downstroke, also hitting the 4th string fretted at the 12th fret, before coming up on that 11th fret 3rd string again. Let's play that slow up to that point. Here's the A. I missed that low A. It comes in as the 7th note in the measure, and it's kind of an odd thing. So you got 3 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of like that. After that, slide the whole thing down 2 frets to that C position with the open A again, and the pinky on E10. And we repeat that low A open 5th string. And that is a crossover picking technique. We're actually using our thumb to strike the open 5th string, index finger on the fretted 4th, thumb crosses over that one we just picked with our index and hits the 3rd string, and then index finger takes the 1st string here, fretted at the 10th fret, before going back to these 2 strings. And with our thumb, strum down the open 5th and the fretted 4th at the 10th fret, sliding it down to the next measure. So let's play that again slow one more time. Watch the A here. Repeat it. And that crossover technique is something Mayer does all the time, and one thing it allows you to do, which will come into play later, is double pick notes in the same kind of arpeggio. You can easily do, so I pick this note twice. You can't do that with traditional finger picking. Most traditional finger picking guys would just hook a finger under each note he wanted to play and rip them out like that, but double picking in that case, you couldn't really do it as easy. Let's look at measure 2. So all that is a little bass riff down here. I use my thumb on the 3rd fret of the low E. I do a slide from the 5th fret of the low E, with the 3rd finger up to the 7th fret. My 1st finger is in a good position here at the 5th fret of the 5th string to sound it, and do a slide down to the 2nd fret of the 5th string. So I'm in a perfect position to form that chord because my fingers are already there, and then after that we just arpeggiate it. Before ending off on some open strings, you'll notice this a lot on Mayer tunes. He's getting ready to slide back up to the 10th position here. So he plays open strings for that transition. So the last 2 notes of every measure pretty much are open so that he can make the transition to the next chord. Let's do that slow one more time. Measure 2. So it sounds very much like the first measure, except we don't have the double pluck. We're just doing this. Here's that A again. That's the same. This part is different. When you slide down to this one, it sounds like this. And that's measure 3. The small difference there, we're basically hitting that open E 3 times, sorry, open A, 5th string, 3 times. So 1, 2, 3 before we go up to that high E10, and then repeat these 2 notes, and then just sound that open A, no slide this time. So let's do that slow again from the top. 1, 2, 3, and yeah. When we first do it, it's just the 5th string open by itself. The upstroke features the fretted 4th string, 10th fret, and the open 5th string. And then the 3rd time we hit the A, it's the open 5th string again, and also the fretted 10th fret of the 5th string. So before going down to a modified version of that little bass lick, we're using pedaling notes on the high open strings here, the 3rd string, and the 2nd pass through the 3rd and 4th strings open. And what I mean by that is we're doing this like that. So we're hitting the 3rd fret of the low E, and then we're with our index finger hitting the open 3rd string, doing our little slide up, and as we arrive at the top of our slide, we're going to do another kind of upstroke, this time hitting the open 3rd and open 4th. So now it's back into the 5th fret of the 5th string. Quickly though, we slide down with our 2nd finger, we hit the 2nd fret of the 4th string before arpeggiating the chord. So slow. You'll notice when I'm forming that chord, I arpeggiate the notes, and as I'm doing that, I'm kind of pressing down on these strings. So by the time I get down to the bottom, it's just in time. They're pressed in, and they're able to sound like yeah. So you'll find yourself doing the same thing. The way the tune's written, it's kind of like you just have just enough time to mess around in the top low register to get up and have these fretted. And again, we're ending off with these 2 open strings before we move back up to the 10th position. Okay, now we're into pretty much single note crossovers. Long slide into the and that's the verse now. He's singing over this. He's doing that. Did you know you could be wrong this way you're right? So again, crossover technique. Thumb, index, thumb, index. The A comes into play earlier now. Now it's the 5th note in the measure instead of the 7th. And we kind of hit it, give it a little rest, hit it again for a longer note value and arpeggiate. Have a long slide down into the next position. We're basically just kind of like keep that same chord shape. Slide it all the way down and hit the 3rd fret on the low E for a bass note. Let's just do that beginning part again. Timing is weird in this first verse. I'll explain that later. That part there is, we've got this chord formed. Room handle grip with the pinky on E5. With our thumb we hit the low 6th string. Then with our thumb again we hit the 4th fret of the 3rd string. And our index finger is just going to snatch the 2 bottom strings. Then a slap. Then we lift the chord off to do the next one, which is that E one. But while we're doing that, our first finger strums or plucks the open 3rd string. Then we go into the arpeggio. So from the top, measure 7 and 8, slow. It's a bit more straightforward, the timing of measure 7, because we don't have that long slide. That was takes up a lot of time. So it's straightforward crossover picking. Open A, pause. So we have a little rest in there. So get that in there. Occasionally, I think he's actually picking it and attempting to do another upstroke with his index, but it's muted because he's in the transition from going from this chord to this one. So you have this. Might be something like that, or it might be waiting. I tend to pluck it with my thumb, stop it from vibrating, and then pluck it again. And that's how that measure ends off. This part here is might be incidental. We end off with that open A, and then we have a quick upstroke with the thumb on the 3rd fret of the low E, and that basically foreshadows the this G chord. And then the arpeggio. Let's do that from the top slow. Pause. A upstroke on the G here, G 3rd fret of the low E. Before going into that G, downstroke, down, up on the 3rd string, 4th fret, slap, open 3rd string, arpeggio on the E chordish thing here. Pretty straightforward. Measure 9. Difference there is instead of doing the arpeggiated crossovers, let's play it through slow. We're doing a double pump on the 10th fret of the low E. So that's the one big difference. Similar to what we do down here in the 3rd position. So, and then we take the index finger and we strike up on strings 2 and 3, slap, open 3rd string, before going to this open 5th string, and doing crossover arpeggios there. And then ending with a double pump on the open 5th string. That part there in that C chord, the arpeggio is a bit different. We arpeggiate strings 5, 4, 2, and 1, before coming back to strings 4, 3, and then hitting the open 5th string and 4th at the same time. And then 3rd string, and then double pump on the open 5th. I use my thumb like that. You can use your thumb and finger if you're good at that. Measure 10. What we're doing there is forming that G chord we're hitting the 6th string, 4th string, 6th string, 3rd string, slap, open 3rd, and then forming the arpeggio. This time we're doing a double hit on one of the strings. So we're hitting that open E with our thumb. With our index finger, we're hitting the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and then with our thumb, we're hitting the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and then coming down and open. So one more time, slow. Measure 11. It's got a nice little innovation in there with that quick strum. So regular crossover arpeggios. And to do that bit, you just basically, when you get to that C chord, we're ending off with the index finger on the high E10. With our thumb, we're hitting the 4th string, 3rd string, and then with our index finger, doing a quick down up, hitting pretty much all the middle strings, and a bit of the open 5th before terminating again with the open 5th. So slow from the top. Measure 12 is the last measure in the chorus. It's down in the G shape, and we're doing clean crossover arpeggios. Coming back to strings 4 and 3 before forming our E chord. In this case, on the track, he doesn't form it all the way. It actually sounds like this, and then he actually doesn't fret this 3rd fret on the B until later on. So you don't have to do it exactly like that. I think he just was rushing the pressing down, thinking about what's coming next. So you can just simply go as usual, the ending chords to all the other measures. So again, slow, and then whatever you want to do for this. What's unusual about this one is the ending of the measure. He ends it off with open strings 6 and 5 before going into the pre-chorus. Measures 13 to 14 are a small pre-chorus. And the time signature changes in this part into 3/4 time. After that, it goes back to 4/4. So to start off, we're doing E3 with our thumb, and then B3 with our 2nd finger, sounding those together. So this is a series of 2-note chords. After that, we do an A chord, so we have the open 5th string, A, and then B2. After that, we have A2, B3, and then slide all that up to A5 and B5. So they sound like this. Later, he does this one other time in the tune, and when he does that, for some reason, it's a bit different. He actually plays that B open on the very first chord. After that, it's the same. So be aware of that. You'll see that in the tab. But for this one, he's actually doing it like that, fretted on the 3rd fret for those 2 fingers. Now we go into that E chord thingy, and we arpeggiate that. It starts off with a small strum of the 6th and 5th strings. Off with 3 kind of strong strums of the 5th and 4th strings, followed by an upstroke with the open index finger on the open G. So like that. So all together. One more time, slow. Strum that part. And then we're on our way into the chorus. Measure 15 is starting the chorus, so let's look at some of the chords we're going to encounter there. So this is an E2, that's an F sharp on the root, and then we have a G2 and a B3, kind of like a D chord without the high E fretted. So Then we have our regular broom handle grip G. Then he goes down to that same shape, but an A2, a B note in the root with that same G2, B3, which he descends into an A. And then there's a variation on a very open G chord, basically an E3 in the root and a B3, and then he arpeggiates a bunch of single string stuff like. And we go to the, we repeat that again. And ending off back on this G shape again. So that's measure 15 and 16. We're into the chorus now. And the way that's played, very dirtily with slaps and fingernail smacks and things like that. That's the performance manner of playing it. So I'll teach it to you clean and you can dirty it up later. So that first arpeggio in measure 15 sounds like this. Notice that it ends off on the open third G string here, and that's because he's transitioning into the other chord, which is the G broom handle grip. We arpeggiate that up, striking strings 6, 4, 3, 2, so, and then we pedal on strings 4 and 3. So from the top. We end off on open strings 5 and 3. So from the top, slow again. Measure 17 and 18, continuing with the chorus. This is the chord form with the B on the second fret of the A string, the B root. So that initial B note, we hold it a bit before moving into the next couple notes. Then we pedal between these two second fret on the 5th string and second fret on the 3rd string notes. At this point we lift off our second finger and hit that G open. So. And then we lift off our our first finger on the second fret of the 5th string and hit that open. And now we're forming a little A chord. We hit that open B string. So let's do that from the top really slow. Lift off the next note. And then we move over to the G shape, that open one where we have the 3rd fret on the E string and then B3 fretted here. And we kind of just ride that up. Ending off with the it's kind of a pretty thing. We end off on the last 4 notes of that measure 18 are the low G here on the 3rd fret of the E, the open G note, the A on the 5th fret, and then the open G again. Very kind of pretty movement. One more time, all slow. Pause. Open G. Open A. Because that open B string rings a bit, I hit it with my thumb. There's more than enough time to come up to the top and start that crossover. Measures 19 and 20. This is starting the chorus, the second pass of the chorus. And it's a bit different. It just shows you that a different note selection can really change the sound of the piece. Before we were doing this, going low a lot. The second pass through the second half of the chorus, he kind of stays high. Doesn't go down low as much. And then in this part here in the G chord, in measure 20, he goes high. And it just changes the feel up, kind of flips it around on its end. Instead of, he's like high, low, open, open. Very subtle difference. It's not important that you play it like this. As long as you're hitting the right chord, fretting the right chord, whatever notes you hit in your arpeggio are undoubtedly going to sound good. Measures 21 and 22, ending of the chorus. We're back to the chord with the B in the root, and that's very similar on the onset. Hold that a bit. Pedaling. Open string coming up. Second open string. This A chord is a bit different now. Before we were doing a very small kind of A chord with that B open. Now we're kind of barring the second fret from the fourth string down to get this notes happening. So let's do that again slow. So that ends off. Then we go into the G again. That's just a straight crossover arpeggio. And we're kind of pedaling on this fourth string, third string fretted note. We go high here. Then there's a double hit on the fourth fret of the third string. And then there's an open A and a slide up in preparation for the little chorus outro, which is a repeat of the intro. So one more time, slowly from the top, measures 21 and 22. And then we go into the... similar to what we've seen before. That's the end of the chorus. There's two other choruses, just kind of do the same sort of thing. If you really want, you can consult the tab for the major differences. Measures 43 and 44, the bridge, going back to that chord from the chorus with the F sharp in the root, the E2, G2, B3 kind of thing. We strum it pretty aggressively, and each strum and upstroke is usually, at least at the beginning, hitting 2 or 3 strings. So slow, it's... And finishing out that near the end of the measure, we're doing single notes. But right off the top, we strum the top 3 strings. We come back upstroke, hitting the second fret of the G string, and also the open D. And then come upstroke on the B3, and then repeat the whole thing before doing this to end it off. So again, to speed, it sounds like this. So you can play it aggressively and rough when it comes time to do it. Then it transitions into this nice chord. And this is just 2 fretted notes, the G3 and the B3. Everything else is open around it. We kind of start on this open D. And there's a hanging note there. That high open E hangs. Okay, from the low strings here. And because we hit that hanging note with an upstroke, there's enough time to make the following note an upstroke. So that keeps your syncopated stuff in line. Up, up. So that's important to know. And anytime you have like a note length that's longer than the one before it, you can hit it with the same direction you were going in the last time. Measures 45 and 46 from the bridge feature the chord from the chorus with the B in the root. So with that fingered, we play it like this. Before going into this chord, we have an A2 and a G1. Everything else is open. So we arpeggiate our way up that one with crossovers. So let's go back to that first measure. We basically, with our thumb, strum strings 5 and 4. And we do a double pick on the third string. First with the index finger, then with the thumb, and then we pluck the first string upstroke. With our thumb, we hit the third string, and then we hit the second, and we start all over again. Double pick again on the third string, finally the thumb. Then we let that high E hang there for a little bit, and then with our upstroke again, continuing down, we hit the third string, fifth string, for unfretting and hitting the open third string, which is the G. Let's do that again slow. Before going into this chord. And to speed, it sounds like this. Measure 47 and 48 in the bridge. We're back up here in the D position. And measure 47 especially sounds very pretty slowed down. It sounds like this. What's going on there is we're just changing the order of the notes. We're going 6th string, 3rd string, 4th string, 1st string. That very ending note, we're actually strumming strings 3 and 2, sliding down, and as we're in the middle of the slide, we do an upstroke strum and we sound strings 3 and 2 open. So one more time slow. Again, near the end of that measure, we go to the 6th string, and then 3rd string, and then 6th string, and then 2nd string before we do the strum. Strum slide down to the 3rd fret. And we let this high E ring open because we'll be using it in the arpeggio. And we play this. So there's a double pick in there on G4. Yeah, so we do this. We start the double pick with our index, follow it up with the thumb, hit the open string. So it sounds like that. One more time slow. Measures 49 and 50. Measure 49 keys off a B minor shape with our thumb fretting the 7th fret of the low E, and we play these notes. Before sliding these chords down, we slide from the B minor into the A major, then the A major to the G major, finally ending off with a B3 note. So let's just go through that slow. So there's a slide, strum, note kind of thing. So it's kind of hard to slide from a minor shape into a major shape, but it can be done. And when I'm initially arpeggiating it, I'm not fretting the chord shape too much. I'm just fretting the notes that I'm trying to pick. At this point, I press down into the B minor shape chord to hit that B7, and then I start my slides. Like that. And then we're into measure 50. Measure 50 is odd because we leave this B3 note hanging. It actually starts with a slap and a double pumped G4. You can just hit that G root handle grip and arpeggiate it. Do whatever you want, it's probably simpler, because what he does on the track is kind of oddball. I don't think he meant to do it that way, but he ended up. And we have a slide up to the 10th position to get ready for our next bit. Measures 51 and 52 sound like this, slow down. And we're back up to the D here, and just kind of trying to do this melody. But we're doing a very strummy version of it. One more time. Open G to end it off. Then this one is a new one. This is a high G bar chord. So our first finger is on the A10, and then we're barring with our third finger the 12th fret. Strings 4 to 2. And we're doing the same kind of thing. It ends off with the fretted A10, open third, and then open fifth, open third, before going into the next part. One more time, slow. You really get a sense of a driving movement with the low strumming going on. Because you have this, and don't lose that sense of movement when you're playing that part. Measures 53 and 54 ending out the bridge. We're back to the B minor shape. This time though we're adding an E9 to change up the notes a bit, and we arpeggiate it the following way. So it's more sliding minor to major chords. So one more time, slow. On that first slide down, we do a strum on the A major shape. And we come up with our next finger and sound the open E and the B5. And we strum the A major shape again. Come up just on the B5 for a final slide down. We're just moving the shape of the strings 4 and 3 where they're fretted. And we have a low 5th string here that we kind of slide out of as well. One more time, slow. Let's measure 53. Measure 54 is back to the G here. And the one neat variation there is we have a double pump and a pause that make it sound neat. So slow, the final measure 54 of the bridge is. One more time, slow. Ending off on that G. Actually, that nice 5th fret D, the D5, and the open G are the same, so that's kind of a nice end off. And that is it for the bridge part. Measure 63, start of the outro. This is the ending of the song. It's basically a reintroduction of the intro. It's very much the same. Except your thumb turns into a giant pick at the end, and instead of... It's kind of like... That's all you do there. And the very last measure of the song, measure 66, sounds like this. So what we're doing there is, we use our pick as a giant thumb, and that last chord we do is a modified version. It It's actually leading off the B3 here with the pinky. So it's A2, D2, and E2. And you strum it and then pull off from the E2 to the open E. So one more time. And that's it. I didn't tab every single measure. Sorry, I didn't show you how to play every single measure, but every single measure is tabbed the way it appears on the audio track for that video. Verses 2 and 3 are very similar to 1, and choruses 2 and 3 are very similar to chorus 1, so you get the idea. So make it your own. I hope you like this. It was a pleasure to transcribe and show.